What do you know about time? It's a concept which always affects us, and at first glance we may feel like we have a pretty good intuitive understanding of it. Time seems to be made up of a past that no longer exists, a future which is yet to exist, and wedged in between the two there's the present, always moving along at a constant pace. This is a view that's pleasant in a way. Maybe you always thought you were awkward in school, and you can take solace in the fact that the moment where you accidentally farted in class, or the moment when you got rejected asking your crush to the school dance, no longer exists. However, this view might also be frightening. The feeling of being tugged along through life at a steady pace, slowly approaching old age, disease, and finally death, can be unsettling at best, and a cause of severe existential dread at worst. But is this really how time works? Is the present really moving along at a steady pace? And if the past doesn't exist anymore, where did it go? The intuitive view of time, with the existing present surrounded by the no longer existing past and the future which is yet to be, is a philosophical position known as presentism. Such a philosophical position, which makes claims about what parts of time exists, is called an ontology of time. There seem to be 4 possible positions or ontologies of time. At least that is, if one doesn't count the nihilistic perspective which states that nothing exists. Besides presentism, the 3 remaining ontologies are growing block theory, shrinking block theory, and eternalism. The growing block theory makes the claim that both past and present exists, and together form a 4-dimensional block that grows larger and larger as the present pushes onwards into the non-existent future. Similarly, the shrinking block theory also claims the existence of such a block. This block, however, is made up of the present and the future, and shrinks as the past fades into non-existence. Finally, there's the position known as eternalism, which simply states that the totality of time exists. This means that no matter when you watch this video, the dinosaurs are just as real as the death of our sun, which will occur in about 5 billion years, by the way. Since eternalism isn't reliant on a present that moves through time, the dimension of time is fixed, just like the dimensions of space, and the 4 dimensions collectively make up the shape known as space-time. As with many other metaphysical questions, there will be continuous argument amongst philosophers who hold different positions, and we will never truly find out which one of these ontologies accurately represents reality. At least that seemed to be the case, until a certain messy-haired gentleman wrote a certain theory which would turn everything on its head. Suddenly, time and space were made relative to the observer. This shattered the idea of an absolute universal present. Let's look at an example to illustrate why this is the case. According to the theory of relativity, if you were to travel away from the Earth in a rocket at an incredibly high velocity, time would be experienced slower in your rocket than it would be back on Earth. This means that upon returning home, you'd soon find that everyone had aged faster than you. If you had children when you left, it's even possible that they would have surpassed you in age. This implication of relativity is well known and has been tested using atomic clocks and airplanes. If it's possible to have such a divergence between presents as they are perceived by different observers, we simply have to give up on the idea of the universal present. It seems, therefore, that the moving present, or the passing of time as we perceive it, is an internal cognitive function rather than an objective universal phenomenon. It is a symptom of how we view the world rather than an actual characteristic of the world. Now, let's return to the 4 ontologies of time. Since presentism, the growing block theory, and the shrinking block theory are fundamentally dependent on there being a universal present, we find that they are logically incompatible with Einstein's theory of relativity. This leaves eternalism as the only remaining option. It thus seems like all of time and that which is in it, from the Big Bang or whatever came before it, to the eventual death of the universe, exists. And just like that, in a beautiful cooperation between philosophy and science, we seem to get a glimpse into the very essence of the universe and bring that awkward classroom fart from all those years ago back into existence.